Chapter 6. Okay, I think we answered the question whether that's an ordinary logging camp, Marco said. We reached the far edge of the forest, back close to the farm. Marco and I had demorphed, Rachel and Jake flew out and joined us, so Ice took up a perch on a low branch. Axe stood nearby, his two stalk eyes moving continuously side to side, peering darkwards around us. His main eyes met my gaze. By the way, thanks, Axe, I said. Yeah, no kidding, Marco, I was spam back there. That tailblade of yours is something. I should have spotted the net in the treetops, Axe berated himself. I detected the force field and suspected there were Dracon beams in the upper windows. But the nets are so primitive I overlooked them. Axe like only likes his no spoken speech because he has no mouth. Thoughts speak is their natural language. A close is crushed between a deer, horse, a human, or a scorpion, sort of like a mythical centaur. His upper body is like a bull's, but with weak arms and a head with two movable stalks on top, kind of like antlers. Every stalk has an eye. The eyes are constantly moving left, right, and back. Animalites are hard to sneak up on. His body is covered in blue and tan fur, a very short and humanoid torso, a bit longer deer-like body. His hooves are sharp and black, but it's a tail that gets your attention. It's long that he can whip it over his head and hit someone in front. It isn't a curved blade. None of us saw the nest, Jake pointed out, and they must have been well concealed. The point is they were waiting for us, Margaret said. This is definitely a York operation. I don't think they really want to go into lumberjack business. I mean, the whole thing's by getting us. Agreed, Jake said tersely. If they think we're Analytes and know we've been hurting them around the area, they say must be hiding in the woods. They're almost right, Jake pointed out. Axe device do live in the forest, and we do use it. You know, we're not the only thing going on here, I said. They looked puzzled. I took a deep breath. I mean, you know, this forest is important even if Tobias and Axe weren't here. It makes me sick thinking people chopping down all these trees. Oh please, not the Earth Mother thing, okay, Marco said? I was getting so fried by a Dracon beam. That's not I wanted to save Bambi, alright? Look, Marco, we're not the only animals around. We all people all understand that. Cassie, who cares? We're fighting to save the world from Yorks. Who gives us some ecology, tree-hugging, recycle your can stuff? I do, I said. Well, that's you. What I care about is the fact that a bunch of Yorks have that fortress back there and they're going to use it to tear up the woods looking for us. I started to stand back when Jake held his hand. It seems to me it doesn't matter whether we have there is a why we care. I mean, either way we want to stop it from happening, right? What did Marco? Then me. I was alone with Jake right then. I mean, I understood you guys consider everyone's ideas, but it's like he's agreeing with Marco, it didn't matter. I turned Rachel's support, but she found something to look at it on the road. Oh great, even Rachel thinks I'm wrong. The important thing is we have to stop them, Tobias said. And how exactly do we do that, Marco said? That place is the Fortress of Doom. Knock it down, blow it up, Rachel mused. Grab some of the heavy equipment they haven't run into the place, Marco suggested. We don't have the benefit of surprise. They know we're coming. They know sooner or later we have to go after them. The heavy equipment would be useless, Axe pointed out. The building is surrounded by a force field. The equipment would not penetrate it, and neither would we. We'd be stopped by the force field and cut to pieces by beams. Rachel's lips pinned the moon to a thin line. So, we just give up? We let them go chopping for food till they find you? Axe didn't have an answer to that. You know, I wouldn't want to sound like a stupid ecology nut or anything, I said sarcastically, but the question is, how do you get permission to start logging a national forest? Why is that helpful, Marco asked sarcastically. Because sometimes, Marco, there's a more subtle way of doing things. They don't control the entire government. Not yet, anyway. And so they have to get legal permission. If they didn't have permission, they have cops and agents and TV news people over them. They don't want that. And Marco looked like he had some smart reply to make, and he just said, oh. Jake cocked an eyebrow at his best friend. See, Marco, this is why she's a nicer person than you. She could have said, you don't want that, duh. He grinned just by himself. Jake winked at me. I forgave him for acting like Marco was right before. So what do you think we should do? I shrugged. Hey, don't think of things might end up people getting hurt or killed. Okay, look, the Yerks must have gotten to someone. It must be in control of some kind of high position. We need to find out who. And how do we do that, Tobias asked. I guess... I looked for your help. I knew the answer, just didn't want to say it. We made plans to end up in terrible danger. We have to get in that building, Jake said for me. I nodded. The least could do was agree. Rachel shook her head. I don't know any animal big enough to force their way inside that place. Not big, I said. Small. Very small. Time for smallness. Chapter 7. Where have you been, my dad asked me if I got home later that evening. He was in the kitchen searching the refrigerator. It caught me by surprise. My parents usually ask me a lot of questions. Mostly they trust me. And it used to be they could trust me. I don't think I lied to my parents for becoming an Animorph. Now it's like I was lying to them all the time. It's a rotten feeling. Oh, I was just out walking. Why, do you need me for something? Oh yes, my dad said something way too solemn, so I knew it wasn't actually serious. It's just the way he is. I guess he has a dry sense of humor. That's what Jake says anyway. He thinks my dad's the funniest man on the planet. What is it? I did get caught on the highway patrol. It's this, certain animal on the side of the highway where it cuts through the forest. They say this animal seems to have a bad burn. I liked how he kept saying certain animal. We have to drive out and get it. And he grinned. He said, actually, I'll drive. You have to go get it. I groaned. There's only one animal my dad's afraid of. He handled foxes and wolves and even bears, but he wouldn't handle this certain animal. Are you telling me it's a skunk? He nodded. You're such a way with skunks. They like you. Besides, you got to meet with the board and the Dudek Cat Food Corporation tomorrow. I can't show up smelling like skunk. My mom appeared, climbing from the cabin basement. She's carrying a 6-pack of V8 juice. This is all I could find in the pantry. See, tomato juice is one of the few things get rid of skunk smell. Mom, shouldn't you be the one to help Dad with this? I have very important homework to do. Yeah, right, my mom said. This is pathetic. You're both highly trained veterinarians. How can you be scared of skunks? Well, I didn't used to be, my father said darkly, back before the incidents. Just because one skunk sprayed you in the face, just because you had one bad experience, he sprayed me 6 times in 3 seconds. I smelled for a week. Your mother made me sleep in the barn, except the animals got all agitated, so I had to set up a tent in the yard. Then we had the bird in a tent, my mother added. She giggled. You do have a way with skunks, my father said. Actually, a way with all animals. Come on, you know they love you. A burnt skunk by the highway loves no one. She's not wrong. 10 minutes later on the highway, we were driving to our new pickup truck. My father's old beloved pickup truck had been stolen and totally destroyed. At least that's my dad believed. We sort of had to borrow for this terrible battle. Marco had been driving, and Marco cannot drive. The truck ended up in a total wreck of a ditch. On the way, he listened to CD player, and it's the one thing my dad liked about the new truck. He was playing some old jazz or something. We should have found a highway patrol told my dad about, and we pulled over and put on the hazard lights. Careful, people drive like maniacs through here, he warned me, so climbed out. Cars are blowing past 70 miles an hour with high beams on, the black forest pressing around the road on both sides. I shone a flashlight on the edges of trees. Normally the forest doesn't bother me, but I knew we were practically a quarter mile of the Yerka logging camp. It's so strange to be practically going back there and just an hour before I'd nearly been killed. It took us near 20 minutes walking up and down the grassy shoulder road where my flashlight beam landed on a shock of black and white. Dad, here! He came trying over and added his light to mine. Yep, I'll get the cage, don't forget your gloves, you know they're major vector for rabies. Dad, I have the shot. No vaccine is 100%, he said. I walked toward the skunk, it saw me and turned its tiny glittering black eyes on me. Don't be afraid, I said, pitching my voice high. It's okay, we're here to help you, it's gonna be just fine. Here's the thing about skunks, they're the sweetest animals alive. They don't have a mean bone in their bodies, but that's because they don't have to be mean. They possess the ultimate weapon. Even so, they will always warn you. If they turn their backs on you, that's a warning. If they raise their tails with a tip down, that's a serious warning. If they raise the tip of their tails, you're in a bad situation. If you're dealing with a skunk who's turned buttward and raised his tail the way you want to freeze. Trust me, every animal knows this. Dogs don't understand about skunks, but bears, raccoons, wolves, and most birds of prey will know you just don't mess with that skunk tail. Maybe you think you know how bad a skunk musk is when you're driven by skunk roadkill, but that's nothing. A close on person is a whole different level of stench. If you imagine the worst one possible then multiply by 1,000, you still won't be close. It's okay, sweetie, I cooed. Don't spray me. I'm your friend, so please don't spray me. I moved closer and crouched lower myself small. I wanted to look non-threatening. I moved very slowly, one step at a time, while I was cooing and baby talking I was going to grapple a little kid armed with a shotgun. The skunk moved and I froze. The skunk settled down and I breathed again. Please don't spray me. I reached my pocket and took out a bit of mouse meat. We keep frozen mice to raptors we handle. Skunks also enjoy a nice mouse or grasshoppers as part of their diets. Here you go, dinner. I held the meat out for the skunk. He didn't seem to be hungry, but it did set the fact that I must be okay if I was offering dinner. I crouched beside the skunk and set my flashlight on the ground. Carefully, my gloved hand reached out to touch it. It was shaking and shivering. At that moment, I could see why. There was a burn right across the skunk's back. A semicircular burn, someone simply sliced a scoop out of it. Drake company, I whispered. You were there, weren't you? Poor baby. Aiming me and Marco, they hit the skunk instead. Of an innocent animal caught in a crossfire between Yerks and humans. The Yerks are destroying all the forest and all its animals to get to us. Sorry, I whispered to skunk. I held it slowly and carefully up into my arms. Aww. Chapter 8. We met at the mall. It was Saturday, so it was a normal place we might be. When you live in a world surrounded by possibilities, it's important to do nothing unusual. You don't want to draw attention. Not even your family and friends. You don't know who you can trust and who can't. The Yerks believed we were Andalites, who wanted to keep on believing that. If they figured out we were humans, let alone kids, we were toast. So we left no clues. We tried to act like we were a group. We didn't want some controller teacher or whatever thinking, hey, you know what? Those same kids are always hanging out together acting like they're planning something. So we had to look and act and seem normal. Rachel's still in the gymnastics classes and shot. And Jake and Marcus still shot hoops in Jake's driveway or played video games. I took care of animals at the clinic. There was nothing we could do to make Tobias seem normal. He was past normal. But he also came from a terrible messed up background, shouting from one indifferent aunt or uncle to the other. He never really was part of a family or structure, and no one just seemed to notice when he disappeared. I spent an hour wandering alone behind Rachel. She moved like her veterans were the racks at the Limited, and the Banana Republic and the Gap, and a whole bunch of other department stores. She has some bizarre, supernatural instinct for when sales will happen. She doesn't need advertising, she just knows. We were cruising for a series of table-powered sweaters. She was looking for a particular shade of green that probably didn't exist. So, what do you think we're gonna do? I asked her. She looked from fondling a sweater. What? Oh, I guess we'll go in, if you find a way. That's what I was wondering. What way? How do we get inside? I mean, I know we're thinking insects, but if anyone's planning on doing ants, I'll tell you I'm not doing it. She gave a little shudder. I'm sure no one wants to do ants again. We had some really bad experiences morphing, but morphing ants is the worst. We ended up being the wrong species and tribe of ants in the middle of enemy ant territory. You wouldn't believe the nightmares that came out of that one. The tunnels pressing in, then hundreds of vicious ants exploded around, attacking. No, ants, I said, looked at Rachel and catch her eye. Right? She shrugged and glanced at her watch. Oh, it's time. Axe is coming with them, so let's not keep them waiting. Axe? Uh-oh. Jake, Marco, and a strikingly handsome boy are all sitting at the food court, seeming to be arguing loudly about who won some video game. Hey Rachel, Marco called out. What are you guys doing here? I didn't really like this kind of acting. It seems silly, but I had to look like an accident we all went up together at the same place. We're shopping, Amber. Do you know how I love shopping? Why don't you guys come here with us? Have some of our nachos, Jake said, smiling brightly. I looked at a paper plate of nachos. They were gone. There's nothing but a paper plate with a slight orange stain from the cheese. There's a matching orange stain and a chin of a very handsome boy between the two of them. Jake said saw what I was looking at and rolled his eyes. At least you need the plate this time. Hello, Axe said to me. I am Jake's cousin, Philip. Jake's cousin. I'm from out of town. I couldn't help but laugh. Axe had long ago created a human morph out of DNA acquiring the four of us. He was a weird blending of each of us. Male, but in a pretty weird way. He looked human, and he basically was. We had a lot of problems adjusting a human morph. For one thing, since aliens have no mouth, he had found the human mouth fascinating. He could know and play with the sound of words, and he is very dangerous around food. Were the nachos good? I asked him. They tasted of grease and salt. And there's another flavor that reminds me of delicious engine oil I tried once. Oil-la. Engine oil, Jake said. Philip, you know how I mentioned you can't eat cigarette butts or dryer lengths? Add engine oil to list. He nodded. Yes, there are many rules for eating. Marco pushed out a chair for me to sit in. Okay, we're done with a little side trip in Bizarro Zone. Let's deal with business. Tobias came by this morning. Jake said, keeping his voice low. He watched the place from high up. He thinks the controllers at the side have little transponders that let them pass through the force field. So we just grab a transponder, Rachel said. No, I said, it will be key to their biochemical signature of the wearer. The Yerks are not as... Don't use that word, Jake hissed. I saw Marco's eyes dark quickly to see if anyone was listening. Sorry. Rachel's plan would not work. Jake sighed. So I saw something else inside the force field with tiny holes in the wood foundation. He thinks it's termites at work. Termites? Yeah. I swallowed. Jake, termites are awfully close to being ants. They aren't as vicious. Look some information on the internet. Besides, they would make sure the morph of a termite from that colony we'd fit in. I had trouble breathing. I noticed Marco's face turn gray. Even Axe looked grimmed. You're not serious, right? I mean, termites? Termites? I probably sounded a little hysterical. I know I felt hysterical. I don't know how else to do it, Jake said. He looked down at the table and bit his lip. Cassie, you were right when you said the real question is how these guys got permission. That's their weakness. We have to know how they pulled this off. To know that, we have to get inside the building. Through termite tunnels, Marco said. Look, how do we even get a termite? They're all inside the force field, right? I wanted that to be a truth, but look at Jake, he just shook his head. Tobias says they're working on building a little today, putting extra beams. They had to cut away some of the logs. He reached for a jacket in his pocket. Pocket of his jacket. He pulled out a small glass vial. The top had tiny holes let air through. Inside the vial was a tiny tan and white bug about the size of an ant. It had a large brown head. Same colony, same building. I stared at termite. I was trying to climb the side of the glass, but it slipped back down. It was helpless and trapped. It must seem like a huge glass cell by a creature so gigantic we couldn't even begin to imagine. Jake took the top off the vial. We don't do this unless everyone agrees, but we can't let them start tearing for the forest. Rachel held out her hand, and Jake tapped the vial till the insect landed in her palm. I saw it crawl across Rachel's lifeline. I saw it become still as she acquired DNA. I imagined being that termite, crawling along Jake's hand, thinking every crease in her palm was as deep as a ditch. When she was dodging out my hand, it was shaking. It was shaking, I couldn't stop from shaking. The bright-lit mall suddenly seemed dark. That tiny insect scared me. Deep down, it truly, truly scared me. We would go that night, that very night. We were supposed to use the afternoon to deal with chores and stuff. Try it sometime. Try doing homework and you think you maybe you're going to your doom in a few hours. Try concentrating on math and you're thinking about you're going to turn to a termite seen to a heavily defended building. Good luck. I went out to the barn. My dad was there making his rounds. He didn't need my help, but he didn't say no. Did you finish your homework? Mostly. That's another lie to the pile I had to tell. I was gonna take a close look at your skunk last night. She was very agitated, so I gave her a mild sedative. It's a female? Yep. He carried the edge of a little side room used to examine patients. I used the skunk from her cage and cradled her on the examination table. She was very calm, a natural drug-like calm. Then I poured my dad in to bandage the wound and I carefully removed the gauze. The sight of the burn made me wince even though I've seen hundreds of injured animals. Does the sound my dad makes when he's examining something interesting? I don't know why, he just does. Weird. Very unusual. For a life of me, I can't guess what causes this burn. It's just too neat and clean. Though the good thing is, whatever causes it so hot, it partially cauterized the tissue. Is it muscle damage or just superficial? He glanced at me and smiled. It's mostly fur and skin that was burned, but I see some moderately severe damage in the shoulder. Much deeper in the spine would have been burned, but she'll live. I wish I could say as much for her kids. For what? She has babies? Yeah, I'd say maybe 6, 7 weeks old. She has babies out there in the woods? My dad started applying a new bandage. Cassie, you know, nature plays rough, but they're too young to survive on their own, aren't they? I can't be sure, he said, not looking at me. It occurred to me that sometimes maybe he lied to me too, for my own good, or what he thought was my own good. They're sitting in some den wondering where their mother is. They'll starve to death or get eaten by predators. Hand me the scissors, my father said. Yeah, look, I meant to ask you, can I spend the night at Rachel's tonight? Sure, honey, you know, if your mother says okay. Hey, you never asked how my meeting with the cat group people this morning. We got some additional funding. We talked for a while before we made the rounds. My heart just wasn't in it. I was thinking about some baby skunks somewhere mewling and crying for their mother. Aww. I was thinking I wish my dad went so quickly to go to Rachel's because, of course, we hadn't really having a sleepover. Rachel's gonna tell her mom she was spending the night in my house, and Jake would tell his parents his lie, and Margaret would tell his father a lie, and we're going to a situation none of us wanted to be in. I was going to face death that very night, and the last thing I would have said to my father was a lie. I remember the tunnels of ants. I remember them the way I saw them in my nightmares, but I'd never seen them in reality. Ants don't see very well and there's no light underground. In my dreams, I still saw everything. The huge metallic-looking heads of the ants that crashed through sand walls and locked their pencils on me and tried to slice me to pieces. Do you notice I think you're gonna die and never can go back to your human form? To believe you're gonna die as an ant trapped in a hell no human's ever been to? And now I saw those little skunk kids starving and crying out with every cry signaling some predator. Sweetheart, are you okay? Or as my dad was staring at me, I've been breathing hard, almost crying. There were beads of sweat on my forehead. Yeah, fine, I said quietly. He finished his round and left. I stayed behind and went back to the skunk in her cage. I opened the cage and put my hand in. I wasn't wearing a glove because, see, you can't acquire DNA if you're wearing gloves. Chapter 10? Well, what a surprise seeing you all here, Marco said in a low whisper. Everyone still up for this, Jake asked. Sure, Marco answered, rolling forward. Who knew sleeping and run off on a suicide mission? It was pitch black, 3 in the morning. We were at the edge of the forest, Jake, Rachel, Marco, and me. Tobias in a tree above. The same 5 kids who wandered stupidly for a sight in our night and were on the way home from the mall. The same kids who seen the Fandalite fire land. The same ones whose lives have been changed forever. We'd been made soldiers that night, soldiers in a war we couldn't really hope to win. Tobias had paid a terrible price, but so had the rest. They were in the dark ready to do things that would make us scream if we ever stopped to think about them for too long. Axe was there too. Poor Axe was more alone than all of us. He was his own body, his stalk eyes restlessly peering in every direction. I thought we'd morph owls, Jake suggested. They're fast, they'll fly at night until we get close. I was relieved, and owls are a good choice for what I mind. Owls are only natural pairs of adult skunks. See, some species of owls don't have a sense of smell. If you're going to eat skunks, that's a pretty good thing. I wasn't going to eat adult skunks, of course. I'm going to try and find some skunk babies. Wish I'd go with you guys, Tobias said, but I'm not much use in the night. You found the way to get there, Jake said, and you got the termites to morph. And we're just so amazingly grateful, Margaret said sarcastically. We all laughed nervously. It was good to know the others were as scared as I was. We removed our outer clothing. We wore morphing outfits underneath, a collection of bike shorts, leotards, and t-shirts. And we could morph skin-tight clothing, but not things like sweaters or shoes or watches. He wore a pair of bike shorts and a spandex top. Margaret snickered. What? Jake demanded. He put on an innocent face. Oh, nothing. Just saying we're gonna be superheroes and you do something with these stupid outfits, like refugees on a Bulgarian gymnastics competition. That's all I'm saying. Except for Rachel, of course, I point out. Naturally, Rachel found me a coordinator outfit. She looked great. Here's the plan, Jake said. We morph owls getting close. We demorph at least 200 yards away from the compound. Then we crawl close, morph termites, dig under the force field, and the termite holes in the side of the building. Well, that sounds nice and simple, Rachel said darkly. She looked at me and realized even fearless Rachel's afraid. That scared me. I tried to focus on assuming the owl morph. My brain was buzzing away. You know, sometimes you can't stop your brain from racing around like a computer just playing a dozen programs at once. I was worried about too many things. My science project, lying to my parents, where I actually tried drinking engine oil, where baby skunks had already been killed. Maybe it was self-defense. I didn't want to start worrying about the thing that really worried me. Somehow my life had turned very, very weird. I saw Axis morphing quickly. His tail became limp like an empty sock. Feathers are going to replace his fur. No doubt my own horse saw the feather patterns getting drawn in my skin. They were beautiful if you didn't stop thinking about them being on you. You see the quill, a gently curved shaft, and thousands of individual veins spread. Suddenly, the feather drawing became three-dimensional. It seemed to suddenly pop out of my skin. It tickled each little as the feathers grew out all over my body. I was shrinking the entire time, getting smaller and smaller. The dirt and pine needles and leaves and twigs were all rushing up. My bare feet grew up as if they were one big callus. Toes melted and formed talons. Long, curved, sharp, tearing claws grew. They were the main killing weapon of the great horned owl. An owl could fly along silent and they would strike grabbing prey, a rabbit, squirrel, a rat, skunk, by the head. The bones of my body were rearranging. When he disappeared, I was twisted and misshapen. My breastbone grew deeper. Various finger bones grew longer and shorter, so they all made a grinding noise that resonated through my body. My internal organs were radically redesigned. My eyes seemed to swell and swell. They filled my entire head. My eyes were so huge compared to my body, they were practically rubbing together inside my skull. Suddenly, it wasn't night. It was as bright as day. The amount of light that was a dim flickering candle, my human eyes, a spotlight to owl eyes. Whoa, I heard Rachel cry. I enjoy these eyes very much, Axe commented. They are wonderful. I spread my arms wide and opened my wings. The change is complete, but the cold edge of the owl's instincts, the instincts of a predator. I morphed it before so new to inspect. I used the eyes and wings and felt the brain. It wasn't exactly second nature, but it wasn't a surprise. Ready, Jake asked? I flapped my wings and drew up on my feet and rose easily into tree branches and darkness for invisible humans, but clear as blazing neon to me. I saw Tobias sitting perched on his branch. I felt the instinctive caution as the flight of 5 horned owls flew past. The day belonged to hawks, but the night was ours. Good luck, Tobias said. Don't eat anything I wouldn't eat. Ha ha, Marco laughed. He was high in the thrill of a good morph, and so was I guess. It was a rush of power comes being an animal in its natural element, particularly a predator. In the air at night, nothing could touch us. We reigned supreme in the forest. We flew in a loose formation, not soaring, but floating through above the trees. Or rather, floating through the trees. Our wings didn't make a sound. They're carefully designed as the wings of a advanced stealth fighter. More, really. They're designed to flutter or ruffle as the owl glides through still night air. Frightened mice, listening to repulsive nature, hear nothing at all as the owl swoops down for the kill. As well as I could see, I could also hear everything, and hear as well as the wolves. As we flew into what might be a destruction, I tried to focus on another goal, listening for a cry of skunk kits, watching the ground below for a waddling, shuffling walk of a lost baby skunk. This is so weird, Marcus. I love this part. It's the next part I'm not looking forward to at all. It'll be okay, Jake said. Yeah, I mean, what could possibly go wrong, Rachel said, dryly. I swooped and zoomed through the trees. All the while, I watched the ground below me and focused my hearing in that way I reached your compound and I didn't think too much about what was coming next. Chapter 11. Almost there, Jake said, in a couple of minutes. Even thoughts being your attention in his voice, felt like a cold hand squeezing my heart, and then a noise. A noise against the background noises, but this one was one the owl brain wanted to hear. A noise they evolved to notice. The sound of helplessness. The sound of a weak creature. Tiny, weak, helpless babies. There, looking for a hole that no other animal would see in the pitch black. A hole dug beneath the roots of a thorn bush. 5 separate voices. Were they the skunk kits? Maybe, I couldn't be sure. But it was night, and it sounded like they were alone. It could be. I looked around to my owl's neck. I tried to form a picture of the place, the trees, the upcoming rocks just 20 feet away. I wanted to be able to find them again, if I was still around to find anything. The mealing sound reached something inside me, inside a human Cassie, but the owl is just the sound of a meal. It's strange I was two feelings at the same time, human compassion, cold ruthlessness of a predator. Very strange. Okay, Jake said a few seconds later. Here. We swooped low and landed. I started to more quickly. Didn't want to feel that predator in my mind anymore. Not right then. The world went dark as my human eyes re-emerged. The forest was darker and quieter to Homo sapiens. I looked around and couldn't see any landmarks if I tried to spot. I would never be able to find a skunk kits in the dark, not with human eyes. Maybe if I lie a day I could come back in the morning. Okay, we can get as close as we can, Jake whispered. We can't be spied as humans. We can't morph time rats too far from the building. Termites don't exactly move fast. I have a suggestion, Prince Jake, Axe said. He's under the impression Jake is the equivalent of an Andalite prince. A distraction continued. We can give the Yerks something to chase. I knew it in mind. A Andalite, I asked him. The Yerks would not be able to resist, he said. You could end up very dead that way, Margaret said. No, actually, I said you would need you inside. There may be a Yerk computer in there. We need you, but a distraction is a bad idea. Jake looked at me. Anyone want to volunteer? It'd probably be safer going inside. He was offering me a way out, a way to avoid becoming a termite. I should have said yes. I wanted to say yes, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't take the easier way out. Okay, we draw straws. I'll accept Axe. He goes in regardless. Pulled up 4 strands of tall grass and shortened it about 6 inches. Then he took one and shortened it further. Short straw plays tag with the yerks. He concealed the bottom of the straws with his fist. I saw let's play some other game, he said. He drew a straw. Yahtzee, maybe. I like games that involve life and death. I want to hear I drew a straw, a long straw. I'll carefully straw my hand. Yes, it was a long one. He looked shocked, and Jake looked shocked because he'd drawn the short straw. We were all surprised. It just seemed automatic that Jake would be there with us. Margaret grinned. Well, certainly we have a mission without you, a great and fearless leader. He could joke about it, no, it felt like going in without Jake. Now it's too late to change it. Okay, you guys know what to do. I'll use a wolf morph. They'll be on the lookout for wolves. He started to walk away, then he stopped and looked back. Be careful, alright? Go ahead, Mom, Rachel said. We can handle this. At least I hope we can, I muttered. Jake walked off and was quickly out of sight. Okay, I'll be ready as soon as he starts making trouble, Rachel said. We hear something go down, we run toward a perimeter compound, staying just back in the trees and morph. Hope we can find a way to the building. What do you know about the termites who are morphing? Ax wondered. They're like ants, Margaret said. Actually, they're into cockroaches, like them. Looked at one of my mom's books. They have a society like ants, but roaches are a closer relative. They eat cellulose, stuff, and wood. Bacteria in their guts digest the wood. The worker termites, they eliminate their waste. And soldier termites kind of eat it. I think judging from the termites boss are going to be morphing soldier termites. The three were staring at me looking a little sick. Well, Axe wanted to know. A light. Look, I hissed. Way out in the woods. It must be in a far side compound. The spotlights went on. We could hear sound of human voices yelling and the wild, defiant howl of a wolf. That's it, let's rock, Rachel said. Right toward the compound, we hunched low, scurrying from tree to bush. As we got still closer, we dropped down and crawled on all fours, heard shouting and eerie zap of Dracon beams being fired. Hope he's okay, I whispered, but I didn't think anyone could hear me. But Axe said, Prince Jake is very smart. He'll be fine. Do you guys think we're close enough now, Marco wondered? We're closer than the day before, just a few feet from the edge of the clearing. All of us hunched down beneath one large tree trunk. Even Axe in a normal state is awkward for him. We hold close to some big group hug, and we morph become tiny. Even a few feet between us seemed like a mile. Time to go termite, Rachel said. She had an arm around my back. I was already sick with fear, afraid for Jake, for my friends, afraid of the very things about to come. Can I just say this sucks? I muttered. Amen, Marco agreed. We were shoulder to shoulder, my head touched his. And then my very bones round, my cheeks chattering, and the process dissolved my bones and melted away my teeth. Down, 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 falling forever. It's like I jumped at the Empire State Building was falling. But you know, I felt I never quite hit the ground. I was going for a girl less than 5 feet and it's less than a quarter inch long. I was climbing something that crawled inside my own ear. Already the earth had been so close to me a long way off. My eyes still mostly human. I could see Rachel's loose, her face with its features and bulged out. I saw the mandible springing like a black sideways tusk in her mouth, and then my eyes went dark. I was blind, and I was glad. Chapter 12. I couldn't see, but I could feel the antennae that extruded from my forehead. I couldn't see, but I could feel the extra legs growing from my sides. I could sense, rather than see, my head was huge compared to the rest of my body. I could sense I had a swollen abdomen. I could feel the massive pinchers my mouth had been. I wanted to scream. I wanted to scream so badly, but I no longer had a voice. I no longer had a tongue. I was less than a quarter of an inch long. I was as long as any 2 or 3 letters on this page. Grains of sand were the size of bowling balls. My wildly waving feelers sensed a long, huge shaft like a fallen log. It was over my head and I realized there was a single pine needle. I waited for this termite's instincts and mind to suddenly surge, but the termite brain, such as it was, wasn't really anything. It was totally silent. My senses brought me almost nothing. I was blind. I could feel the vibrations on the ground, but they were vague. The termite sense of hearing is as good as relative to cockroach. I knew I'd been a cockroach. All I had was a sense of smell, or something like smoke in my antennae waving in the air. Everyone okay? I asked shakily. I was desperately want to talk to someone. Anyone. I needed to know they were alive. Yeah, Rachel answered. I guess I'm okay. It's just I can't see anything. Termites are blind, except for the kings and queens, I said. I must sound much calmer than I felt. These are very strange creatures, Axe commented. I feel no instincts, as if they are just a body, a machine. Well, let's get these bodies out of here, Marco said. Sooner or later, we're just going to be tired of chasing Jake around the woods. Which way, Rachel asked. Slight problem. We're, totally blind. Maybe it's crazy I have this sense, this feeling like something is calling to me. Okay, maybe, Marco said. I have the same feeling, like something yelling from a long way off. Let's follow that, whatever it is, Rachel said. It's a good direction as any. I set out toward the vague, distant voice. I had no idea if the others were going the same direction, but I guess they're all within a few inches of me. I couldn't tell. The termite legs weren't very strong or fast. Not as fast as ants. I could feel the rocks I was climbing over, or the Or the grains of dirt, I guess they were. They felt like rocks anyway. Jagged, sharp-edged crystals seemed to be as big as a human head. I moved over on all 6 legs, trying hard to think about anything moving forward. Just keep moving. Don't think about how small and defenseless you are. Hey, I feel something, Rachel said. I guess the edge of the force field. At the same time, I could reach the force field myself. I felt a tingling hum that vibrated my tiny body. I feel the rocks around me vibrating. Feel the very air dancing. At least you're going in the right direction, Marker pointed out. I would close the invisible wall of snapping, humming power. Suddenly I realized my legs were just motoring away, but I wasn't going anywhere. Well, I had to dig under, Axe said. It'll stop at the top layer of dirt. Does anyone know how to make these pathetic bodies dig? Rachel asked snappishly. I flung myself down and started whirling between 2 grains of dirt. It didn't work, and I sensed one hugely long log spin in the air not far away. A pine needle. I shuffled over, and the pine needle was close to the ground, but there's still plenty of room for me underneath it. Hey, I yelled in sight. I found a pine needle suddenly crossed the line. I think maybe there's no force field directly beneath him. Yes, Axe agreed. The pine needle would cast a shadow in the force field. I reached up with my antennae and felt my way along it. I could feel the tingly edges of the force field on either side, but it did sort of cast a shadow, and within it I could squeeze through. I'm through, I said. At the same time, I became aware the vague, far-off voice I heard was calling me much more strongly. For a weird moment, I thought it was my mother's voice, and I wanted to go toward it. I moved my 6 legs and head toward the landscape of dirt boulders. I wasn't sure where I was going now. I could hear the voice now. I could hear the call. My turret body seemed moving on its own, like I was a passenger in a car someone else was driving. Is everyone through? I asked. Yeah, Rachel said. She sounded distracted to me, like she was listening to someone else and didn't want me interrupting, but that was okay because I didn't want to talk to her either. I quickly covered the ground of the building. I couldn't see there was a building, but you understand, I just knew. And I never paused to wonder how I knew. Where are we? Marco's voice. He didn't finish his thoughts. He didn't care. Guys? Rachel asked. The opening was just ahead. I knew it was there. I knew that other soldier termites would be guarding the entrance. I felt no fear. I clambered up from the dirt in the tunnel opening. Familiar smells. Smells I knew. Home. Home. My place. Where I was from. Where I belonged. I smelt the air of soldiers in my antennae. They touched me with theirs as I did to them. We were of the colony. The colony. I raced swiftly down a tunnel and headed upward at a sharp angle, but the angle meant little. I weighed practically nothing. A worker was ahead. It strewed a pellet of digested cellulose. Wood pulp. I gobbled it up. Within the pulp there were messages. Hormones passed through the colony saying information. Orders. Indistinct but powerful instructions. I was caught up in the rush of workers off to obey the voiceless voice in their heads. Some off to chew a new tunnel, others off to the egg chamber to rotate the eggs, and I had my orders too. I raced along with chewed and digested wood pulp. Or rather, I raced along tunnels lined with chewed and digested wood pulp. Tunnels cut through the dried wood that supported the building. I felt side tunnels open on one side, then the next. A tunnel above. Air flowed faint but fresh, actually creating a tiny breeze. There was no light. None. But it didn't matter because I was blind. I was blind, but I was not lost. What am I doing? An alien voice asked, but I ignored it. No, the voice cried. I heard the voice for when it came from far away and spoke a language I understand. No, no, let me go. I felt a queasy, sickening feeling, but still powered down a tunnel, turning here and there, always moving toward a goal. There was a powerful smell going stronger. I went to it. I had to go to it. No, let me go. Let me go. Down the black tunnels, over and through the packed rush hour stream of workers, to the center, to the core, to the heart. Help me, the voice screamed. The voice. My voice. The faint, failing voice of the human named Cassie. Me. Ah! Suddenly I was Cassie again. I knew my name. I knew who I was, but it no longer mattered. The termite body was out of my control. A will stronger than mine was guiding it. The termite suddenly emerged from a vast open space. A space in reality is no more than 2 or 3 inches across, but felt like an auditorium. Suddenly I knew it would seize control of the termite brain, who had brushed my human mind aside. She was vast, huge beyond belief. At one end I sensed a termite head and useless waving arms, where a small head by it stood a monstrous pulsating sack as big as a blimp. On the far end was a double row of sickly slimy eggs we picked up and carried away by worker termites. The queen. I was in the chamber of the termite queen.